Good evening, everyone. I'm Georgia Davis, and welcome to AZ Illustrated Nature. Metro has moved to Wednesday night. Coming to you from Studio B, tonight we'll take you to some of the state's higher elevations, where grasslands make up some of the most unique habitats in Arizona.
This is a very unique area, mostly because of our proximity with tropical influences coming from Central America and Mexico, influences from the Rocky Mountains, the Sonoran Desert, factions that come together at this one location here.
Also, learn about some weird plants and their growing number of fans around the world.
There is actually a significant community of weird plant freaks, especially here in Tucson. I think there's a very large number of people here who like strange plants.
But first, here's a look at today's top stories.
The state's fiscal house is in better shape than expected. A new report from the governor's office shows that the ending balance for the 2012-2013 fiscal year is $895 million in the black, a number equal to nearly 10% of the state budget. If the state's revenue and spending continue on this trend, it means Arizona will erase its structural deficit 2 years earlier than planned. When state lawmakers passed the budget earlier this year, they were anticipating ending up about $300 million in the black. The additional money is coming from expanded Medicaid funding and increased tax revenue. Pima County Administrator Chuck Huckleberry says the county should wait until at least 2015 before holding a bond election. In a memo to county officials, Huckleberry says the financial picture, quote, isn't right for a bond election in 2014. County officials were expecting a bond election next year and recently asked residents for input on prioritizing bond spending. That survey was conducted through a special county website. And 3 Arizona power plants are ranked among the 100 worst polluters in the country when it comes to carbon emissions. The Navajo Generating Station in Page ranks 10th in the nation. The Springerville power plant, operated by Tucson Electric Power, ranks 34th, and the Cholla power plant, run by Arizona Public Service, is number 85 in the country amongst polluting power plants. A group called Environment America produced the power plant pollution ranking based on information from 2011. And that's a look at tonight's headlines.
The Grand Canyon and Saguaro National Park are some of the most picturesque attractions in Arizona, well known for their rugged terrain and diversity of cacti and other plants and animals. However, here in southeast Arizona, some of our nearby habitats in higher elevations are also special in their own ways, as they are home to many rare and colorful creatures and landscapes. Tony Paniagua and photojournalist Bob Lindbergh have the story.
If you visit the wide open spaces of southeast Arizona, you may be surprised by the natural features of this region. They seem to be more representative of a state like Kansas or Oklahoma than what is more typically used to describe Arizona. There are rolling hills of grasses blowing in the wind, colorful flowers in prairie-like landscapes instead of thorny cacti on rocky cliffs.
It's just incredible what might be flying, crawling, or walking through this area at any given time.
Except for the tall mountains in the background, it's almost like the setting for paintings of the Great Plains. Rich blue skies with mystical white clouds over waves of green grasses that eventually lose their luster and turn a golden color.
It's just a really cool place.
Roger Cogan moved to this area a few years ago to take a job with the National Audubon Society. Cogan is the conservation coordinator at the Society's Appleton-Whittell Research Ranch near Elgin, Arizona. It's a former cattle ranch where the hoofed animals were removed in the 1960s. Since then, many of the native plants and animals on this 8,000-acre facility have been flourishing. And there are hundreds of species to keep you learning and entertained.
The diversity that's here is probably a real hit for me. You never know what you're going to see. And when you come down to this part, it's often referred to as the Sky Islands here, where we have these series of mountain ranges and the sea of grass in between them. It's a very avid name for it.
It's one of the woolies, I don't know which one, but we see this species on the grass a lot, on the grasses.
For retired university professor Ron Pulliam, this is a magnificent living laboratory full of opportunities for discovery and wonder. Pulliam moved here from Georgia, where he spent most of his career, but he recalls the days when he was attending the University of Arizona.
I came out here just after I got my PhD and was looking for a place to study grassland sparrows, and there's no better place on the planet. There are about 28 species in the sparrow family here. I spent 15 or 20 years working in these grasslands.
Now that he's back, Pulliam says he has noticed a lot of positive differences, although it isn't perfect despite its outwardly appearances. The land continues to be challenged, he says.
It's changed a lot. Kind of the historical context is that this whole region is still recovering from overgrazing at the turn of the last century. And even now you see results of that in terms of patterns of erosion and degraded land. The grazing levels here are now much more appropriate for the region, but there's less erosion, there's more grasses, it's a beautiful place to be, but there are a lot more exotic introduced species here, and they're having impacts on the landscape.
Then, as in now, it's an ever-changing research opportunity, an expansive territory where creatures great and small live side by side, forming a complicated web of life that is often fueled by the grasses that are dependent on scarce rainfalls.
These are four of the most common grass species that occur in the grasslands here around Sonora. They're all grasses, but they're totally different in terms of who eats them. And who eats them is all determined by the shape and the size of these seeds.
And Roger Cogan says the landscape will reveal some secrets and information if you bring your curiosity and seek answers. Cogan is a naturalist who worked at the Phoenix Zoo for 3 decades. He focused much of his attention on reptiles and amphibians, and now he's tracking these animals at the Appleton-Whittell Research Ranch as part of cooperative efforts to increase our collective knowledge and understanding.
Since the ranch has been tracking things out here, there's been like 53 species of reptiles and amphibians that have been identified and are on the species list here. I photo document any new species that I find or confirm that is still here, and if it's a special location, we GPS those locations so we know exactly where they were located. And to some extent, we've been tracking the numbers of things, and I've actually been marking rattlesnakes and kind of tracking the numbers out here too.
But it's much more than work and data, he says. The rewards can be found everywhere around you, whether in close-up encounters or wide-open vistas. He says there are striking surprises wherever you turn.
I feel incredibly fortunate to be actually living out here. I work towards managing it, and I work towards protecting it, and this is just an incredible place, and it's, I hope it continues to be so.
By the way, the Tucson Audubon Society is offering a one-day workshop on Saturday, October 5th, that will focus on grassland bird communities. You can contact the Society or find a link on our website, azpm.org. Now we hear from an expert at the Arizona Sonora Desert Museum who gives us additional information about some of the special types of plants that inhabit our grassland habitats. This story is produced by reporter Heather Gray and photojournalist Steve Riggs.
I live in the Sonoran Desert, the Saguaro Palo Verde habitat, and as stunning as that is, to visit the grasslands is equally pleasant to be in. The expansive views, the great diversity of the plants that one can see. My name is George Montgomery. I'm the curator of botany at the Arizona Sonora Desert Museum. A desert grasslands is a habitat that has, of course, grasses, herbs, herbaceous plants, and woody plants, ocotillo, acacias, mesquites. The summer rain season is very good for the grasslands. As one travels about, it's turned from brown of last year's grasses to luscious green and flowering of grasses. Grass flowers don't have what you would call showy parts. They don't have petals and sepals that are colorful. Grasses are wind pollinated. The pretty flowers, they're pretty because they've evolved adaptations, petals, showy parts that attract the pollinators to them, like bees or butterflies or birds. The bodies of grasses, the stems and leaves are all very similar on them, but it's the inflorescence, the flower stalks, that are very characteristic of the species of grasses. We've got a side oats grama, and what a great common name. All the florets, all the spikelets and flower clusters come off of one side. This grass has a great common name of tanglehead. The awns, these bristles that are attached to each of the florets, and they're tangled together, giving it that common name of tanglehead. Very easy to identify grass on the roadsides or far out in the field. Grasses grow from the crown upward. They are elongating here, and the older parts up top are just moving up and up and up. As they grow from the crown, not the tips, to gain sunlight, they need the old growth removed. They have to have the old thatch removed, and historically the grasslands are adapted to fire. They need fire. It burns off the thatch. It adds nutrient to the ground, opens up sunlight to the crown. When the rains come, they can start growing very readily again. Grazing is needed when there's no fire. Careful management of rangeland is beneficial to the grasslands. If this recycling of nutrients, which is beneficial to the soil and therefore the roots of all the plants, if that doesn't happen, if fire is controlled, if no grazing is going on, eventually there can be die-out of grass plants. Southeastern Arizona, say the southeast quadrant of the state, if one excludes the Sky Islands, the oak forest, for instance, and excludes agriculture land, it could be in the range of 40% of the square mileage is considered grasslands. Contrast of great vistas, rolling hills with the scattered oak trees, the mesquites are exciting to be in. And the animals, the lizards, birds, the occasional mammals one gets to see in the grasslands can be different than in the true desert itself. Southeast Arizona is diverse in habitat. It's just exciting to travel throughout the quadrant of the state.
At least 12 people were killed in shootings at a naval building in the center of the nation's capital. One gunman is dead.
We are confronting yet another mass shooting.
Also tonight, the United Nations confirms sarin gas was used in the August attack outside Damascus as the U.S. pressed ahead for a strong resolution to force Syria to relinquish its chemical weapons.
5 years after the fall of Lehman Brothers, former Treasury Secretary Henry Paulson reflects on lessons learned from the financial crisis.
And fishing for crab in the Bering Sea is very hard work. Climate change might make it nearly impossible.
We're scared to death. Crabbing is our bread and butter.
Good evening, I'm Gwen Eiffel.
And I'm Judy Woodruff. Those are just some of the stories we're covering on tonight's PBS NewsHour.
Years after leaving the Soviet Union for the United States, Anya von Bremsen and her mother tried to recreate the cuisine of Soviet scarcity.
I was missing the black bread, the sight of the bakery, with the socialist slogans saying, "Bread is our socialist treasure, don't buy more than you need."
I'm David Green, a remembrance of Soviet things past on the next morning edition from NPR News.
Today, we are learning about the grassland habitats in Arizona, which grow at some of our state's higher elevations. You can find them in regions where the familiar Sonoran desert, saguaros, and other cacti make way for a different collection of plants and ecosystems. As we've heard in our previous reports, Arizona's grasslands are facing some challenges and changes. Dr. BaronGafford is an assistant professor at the University of Arizona's Biosphere 2 and in the School of Geography and Development. He has been conducting studies about the growth of mesquite trees and woody shrubs in these habitats and is here to tell tell us more about his research. So thank you for joining us. And of course, I need to make the disclaimer really quickly that I am a geographer, but we don't work together. So I have seen one presentation on your work a while back. So, but before we get into the specifics of your research, I want to find out a little bit more about why you're actually studying what you're studying.
Well, I'm a biogeographer, and what makes it exciting for me is that it's that nexus point where external forces like climate and human pressures and the internal functioning of how plants work, how they do their photosynthesis, how they grow, that's where those two factors meet. And so we can understand where plants can live and thrive on the landscape.
All right, so let's talk a little bit more about the way Arizona looks now versus how it looked, let's say, a century ago. So describe some of those differences.
Well, grasslands really have been under extreme pressure for a while now, but particularly the last 100 or so years. Think about the late 1800s when Tombstone was in its heyday. The ecosystems looked a lot different. But all those settlers moving in really added some extra pressure. We started managing how fire can behave in the ecosystems. We kind of did a trial and error experiment to see how much cattle we should put into an ecosystem, how we manage those rangelands. And a lot of those have forced some ecosystem scale changes. The biggest one that you would notice if you could be transported 100 years back is how much more woody plants there are on the landscape.
So it used to look like more grassland, I guess, and now we've got the replacement with mesquite.
And other shrubs, yes. So historically the area was a lot more of a short stature grass. So think more like a Kansas kind of ecosystem. And there were certainly trees and cacti present, but not in the numbers that they are now. You think about cattle coming through, they're perfect for changing the landscape. They're like a lawnmower that's eating down the grass, tilling up the soil, but they weren't eating quite all of the pokey things. So they were leaving a lot of the mesquite and cacti behind, but eating the pods and leaving them, behind, and they really took off. And thankfully, as a scientist, I can say there's a lot of resources in place that have allowed us to watch that transition happen, where we can really quantify how that ecosystems have changed and study why they are the way they are now.
All right, so I, like a lot of people, I'm quite happy often when I'm hiking and I come across a mesquite and some shade, right? And it's habitat for animals. They absorb carbon dioxide, all of these things. So why is it an issue that we're seeing more woody shrubs on the landscape?
Right. Well, you're right. The mesquite do absorb CO2 out of the atmosphere, and they actually do a lot better than the grasses, especially during the drier times. So the challenge there is the water side of things. Mesquites have these really deep roots that are tapping into groundwater and subsurface pools of water. And from a geography perspective, the challenge is that water is also what would have been available for human consumption. So mesquites drawing down the aquifer are taking up water that is no longer available for communities or for wells. And so the challenge is you get this beautiful canopy, but you pay for it in terms of water resources.
So let me back up just a moment, because I always thought grasses are well suited for these kinds of warm, dry climates, and they do well here. We've got monsoon rains that replenish them, all of that. So that's not the case? That's not what you're seeing?
Well, it's a little bit more complicated than that, like most things in science. So grasses have evolved to live in really hot environments. They have actually developed a special biochemical pathway that helps them deal with hot temperatures. And mesquites, the plants that are moving in, don't have that in their back pocket. But what they do have is a not so secret, these deeper roots, which allow them to access that water. So think about us on a hot summer day. We like to find pools of water to soak our toes in. The mesquites have essentially done some of that so that they're not experiencing the same temperature stress, and it really throws off what we understand about how these systems work.
Okay, and so you've been talking about historical changes, so changes in grazing, changes in human patterns and uses of the land, but are these changes that are continuing, and are you predicting into the future that this will continue to happen?
Right. This is actually what I find most exciting is we're really good at managing our rangelands now. There's entire fields of science about how do you manage cattle on a landscape. And so we're better at that. We're better at understanding how fire should be used and not used in an ecosystem. But this woody plant expansion is still happening. So there's something else going on. And from our own series of measurements, we believe that it is related to this transition in rooting structure. So being able to tap into those water resources when grasses cannot. The grasses are limited to that top, maybe a couple of feet of soil. That's where their roots are. Whereas the mesquites are able to access water that's otherwise unavailable. And so that's allowing them to continue to expand on the landscape in light of all these other management techniques that we've figured out. So if we continue to see warmer temperatures, that's going to favor the mesquites if there's water available for them to tap into.
Right, and of course that's a prediction, hotter, drier
Right.
in the coming years.
That's another part of the challenge, is how will the water come? If we continue to have these monsoon rains, that saturate the top 8 or 12 inches of the soil, the grasses can still take advantage of it. But think of this summer, even last summer, where we went through long dry spells in the monsoon, and then we'd have the rainstorms that would dump and really recharge the soil surface. The soil is still going to evaporate from the top, all that water out, but that savings account is still going to be deeper down for the mesquites to reach, but the grasses can't. So if we see that sort of transition where we have more periods of drought, it's going to also favor the mesquites. Both of those factors together suggest we're going to see continued change in our grasslands.
Right, that makes sense. So, well, just let's talk a little bit about how you do this kind of work, because you're talking about a lot of different moving parts here. And, we think about science oftentimes as isolating variables so you can study the one variable of interest, but
Right.
You're trying to keep track of all of these variables. How do you do that?
Well, that's part of the fun, for sure. We have some instruments that allow us to go and actually control the environment around a plant. So you can clamp it onto a plant and dial in the conditions you'd like and make kind of a mini Biosphere 2 situation. Being a faculty also affiliated with Biosphere 2, we're able to take the plants to the experimental situation. And so there we can use the world's largest controllable ecosystem and start to parse out some of those variables. And then we bring it all back together out in the field.
Okay, we've got about 30 seconds left, but tell me really quickly, so are you working on modeling these processes for the future?
Yes, so that's what we do, is we get the individual parameters, make sure we really understand how temperature affects plants, how water affects plants, how carbon dioxide levels affect plants, and then yes, we build it all back together in ecosystem models. And the nice thing is we can see how things have performed in the past and see if it matches our models before we forecast into the future.
All right, well, that's all the time we have, but thank you so much for coming on to talk to us about this.
Thank you.
Collectors may find exotic plants intriguing because of their strangeness, but in addition to the perhaps more well-known plants such as swirrows, mesquites, and palo verde, Arizona also has its share of what many call weird plants. Eager fans enjoy the strange characteristics that you can find in these atypical members of the plant world. Heather Gray has that story.
My name is Mark Dimmit, and I'm a plant freak. So I'm not much interested in the common plants like oleanders and roses and petunias and that kind of thing.
Weird plant collections are growing in popularity. From novices to plant freaks, native nurseries to weird plant sales, Tucson provides the right climate and community to get weird.
This is an example of a normal plant. It has leaves. They're broad leaves, they're thin leaves, they're green leaves. It's a normal plant.
Dimmit explains why being normal doesn't cut it in the desert.
Desert plants tend to be weird because they live in a challenging environment. They have to be adapted to the climate, which is one, it's arid, so the water is limiting. Two, the sun shines very hot, at least part of the year. So they have to be adapted to that. So the adaptations to those are things like succulents, swelling up with water storage so they can get through the dry season. So that gives you fat stems or sometimes big succulent leaves. Many desert plants have tiny leaves because broadleaves burn in the sun. If you're going to store water in a desert environment, you have to protect the water from thirsty animals. So a desert plant is usually more likely to be thorny or poisonous, in which case they're going to look rather strange.
I'm Michael Chamberlain, the Director of Horticulture at the Tucson Botanical Gardens.
Chamberlain says weird plant collections can flourish here because of the climate.
The interest in these strange and bizarre plants is worldwide. There are people in Japan who are very much into it. There are a lot of people in Western Europe who are very much into these plants. Because of our desert environment, we have an easy leg up on growing a lot of these. This pseudolithos is from the country of Somalia. So people don't get to visit this one very often. This is a member of the milkweed family, and they just look like this. This is all they do. They just get bigger, and every once in a while they'll send off a little cluster of brown flowers that smell horribly. Among those plants that are adapted to the desert, we know that many of them are spiny as defense, but then there is a subcategory of plants that have found ways to survive by hiding. Many of these plants are spineless, kind of lumpy and small to hide among the rocks. When you take them out of the rocks and put them in a pot where you can look at them a little closer, then all of their detail and weirdness becomes more obvious and really makes them into interesting little collectible plants.
What happens when a collection turns into an obsession?
Being obsessed with weird plants is exactly that. It's a complete obsession. It's to the exclusion of almost everything else. Now I'm just growing plants full time. I have probably 10,000 plants in my collection. There isn't time to do anything else. Between keeping my weird plants and growing a lot of my own food, it's a full-time job and more.
Dimmit has been growing and collecting plants in Tucson for more than 40 years. His collection spans far beyond cacti and succulents.
This plant is not a succulent, but it's definitely weird. Its English name is stinging spurge. This is a native plant. You can find it in southeastern Arizona in mountain canyons. It's related to poinsettias. Its Spanish name is mala mujer, which means evil woman. See the white spots on the leaves? Those are venom sacs. And attached to every one of those sacs is an almost invisible hypodermic needle. If you touch that plant, the tip of the needle breaks off and the pressure drives the needle into your skin and squeezes the bulb and injects venom into your skin. That is the Persian carpet flower, yeah. That's exactly the texture of some Persian carpets. Look at it close up. That's Persian carpets typically have that weird maroon and that light yellow color in a very fine pattern just like that. It fools the fly into thinking that it can lay its eggs on there, but it's a complete fake out. It's a beautiful flower until you realize that that's mimicking a carcass. It smells like it and it looks like a carcass that's split open and is starting to ooze. A lot of succulent collectors have it because it's one of the prettier ones. And not that bad a stinker. There are some you couldn't be in the same room, they smell so bad. You'd swear there's a dead horse next door. I do almost all of it myself. Yeah, I'm here all day long. I'm kind of asocial. I can go for days without seeing other human beings. It doesn't bother me at all. I shouldn't indicate that it's a completely asocial undertaking. There is actually a significant community of weird plant freaks, especially here in Tucson. I think there's a very large number of people here who like strange plants.
Chamberlain and Dimmit both credit the Tucson Cactus and Succulent Society as another hub of strange plant love, a place to find others with the same passion for the weird.
And that's our show for tonight. To post a comment on any of these stories or to keep up with the latest news, you may visit our website at azpm.org. I'm Georgia Davis. Thanks for watching.